Okay, hope you guys can hear me okay. Great to see all of you. And if you are watching this video, this is a posted live stream. So in order to not miss my live streams, make sure to please like the video, make sure to leave your comment, subscribe, or turn on the notifications. I don't want you guys to miss a thing. And we spend a lot of time making sure you guys have all the most relevant details as far as what is occurring in Minneapolis and other federal operations as well. Or St. Paul, Minnesota, or Minnesota. So it's great to see you. Thank you for being here. Now, the biggest news coming out of the Minneapolis St. Paul mission is of course the church protest. I am going to assume pretty much every single person who is in this live stream, who is watching this video, has probably heard about this protest that occurred inside of a church in St. Paul. That is the very first talking point we're going to get through. It is not a church in Minneapolis. It is a church in St. Paul. Okay, let's get that out of the way. The media, for some reason, does not talk about St. Paul. I have no idea why. In my personal opinion, St. Paul has just as much going on than in Minneapolis, but I don't know why. You guys know I've always felt really weird about that. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and get a baseline as to what's happening here. We're going to be covering a lot because the FBI is now getting involved with these protesters. The FBI is also getting involved with the widow of Renee Good. Okay, that is recent news, breaking news. The FBI is also getting involved with a case that occurred with Nick Sorter, where his camera got stolen. So we're going to be covering a lot here. Today is Martin Luther King Day, so I don't expect we're going to see a lot of operations, or maybe we will. Like, as I make this video, I have no idea what it's like on the ground as far as what the next step is. We do know Homeland Security doesn't seem to care what holiday it is. They're going to operate. They're going to do their thing. Now, we're also going to get involved with some Bible verses here. I mean, we have to because there is a protest in a church. And as a Christian, and even if you don't agree with Christianity or don't care about the Bible, the politics has infiltrated into the Bible or the Christian realm, and I think even if you don't care about this, you should maybe just be educated in what the verses are and the Christian stances historically and biblically. And I'm going to give you that from the Protestant perspective, the Catholic perspective, and even Orthodoxy. We're going to cover all the grounds here to be fair to everyone. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. If you guys are joining the live stream, please like this live stream, get it out there. This is going to be a very important live stream to me because I was shocked when I saw these scenes. Like, I tried not to let my emotions get the best of me, but this one was hard to watch and to report on. So I'm going to do my best here, and thank you guys so much for everything for being here. Here we go.
These protesters burst into a church mid-service yesterday in St. Paul. They started chanting for Renee Good, the woman who was shot and killed by ICE earlier this month.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
The protesters believe one of the pastors works for ICE. Now, the organizer told Don Lemon, who was embedded with the protesters, that it was a clandestine operation meant to disrupt a, quote, key location, demanding justice for Good.
So that's the accusation, and you heard that in the background. I forgot to mention that part because there's like a million different stories embedded in this one story. Don Lemon is like involved with this as well, allegedly. Well, Don Lemon was there. But according to Don Lemon, he has nothing to do with this. He was just covering it as a journalist. Now, for those of you that are unaware, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet is like, I don't know about that. We're going to be investigating your actions as well. So we're going to be seeing some responses from Don Lemon. Don Lemon was in the church, but according to him, he says, I have nothing to do with it. I was just there reporting it. In fact, I think he even has an interview with the pastor. Now, the other accusation, the pastor at this church is in charge of the ICE field office. We'll get to that in a second.
One video appears to show a protester inside the church calling the churchgoers comfortable white people and shouting, you have your nice jewelry. What do you do to stand with your Somali community? Now, we have not seen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz or Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey issue public statements or respond to the St. Paul church mob.
Yeah, guys, you know on my channel, I always try to be as fair as possible. For those of you subscribed to my channel, I give you every talking point possible. And I usually start from the top down. What does the governor have to say? What does the mayor have to say? City councilors. I have nothing for you. I do not have A response from the St. Paul mayor? Nothing. I do not have a response from the Minneapolis mayor. Nothing. I do not have a response from Governor Tim Walz. I would love to show you guys what they have to say because I'm curious. What do they have to say? I don't have anything for you guys. I apologize. Don't get mad at me.
The FBI and the DOJ Civil Rights Division are investigating. Attorney General Pam Bondi writing on X, I just spoke to the pastor in Minnesota whose church was targeted. Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, the Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails.
And again, for those of you joining, I know a lot of you have already probably seen an overview of this, but we're going to go into a lot of detail. Again, I want to give you guys biblical passages to talk about what's happening here. I also want to mention this was a Southern Baptist church as well, just to keep that in mind.
The Justice Department is also probing Mayor Fry and Governor Walz for possibly interfering with immigration enforcement here in Minnesota. President Trump has warned he may use the Insurrection Act. Up to 1,500 soldiers are ready to deploy from Alaska's 11th Airborne Division, which specializes in cold weather warfare. Now, earlier yesterday, Mayor Fry once again said that demonstrations in Minneapolis are peaceful.
In the face of a whole lot of adversity, I'm so proud to be from Minneapolis. They're peacefully protesting. They're standing up for one another. And, you know, like I said, it's not just going to be resistance here in this city. We're not backing down. We're not going to be intimidated.
Okay, so leave your comments down below how you feel about this so far. And again, I wish I had some sort of statement from anyone relevant to this topic as far as a mayor. I've been covering the mayor of St. Paul for a long time. Before she was the mayor, nothing here at all. Okay, now, again, this is the other really big news, just to let you know this is happening and this is developing.
News just coming in. CNN is learning that the FBI briefly opened a civil rights investigation into the ICE agent who shot and killed 37-year-old Renee Good in Minneapolis, but the Bureau then switched the probe to focusing on whether the agent was assaulted. The investigation is now centering on Good's actions and those around her, as well as those of her widow. CNN has reached out.
Okay, so there you go. Again, multiple investigations going on here as far as what's happening on the ground. Okay, so this is Harmeet Dillon. This is what she has to say about the situation. She almost immediately was on it. As soon as the video started circulating, a lot of videos from Don Lemon's live stream, she was quick. She was like, we're looking into this immediately.
I've had a chance to chat with Attorney General Pam Bondi. You guys posted late last night that the Department of Justice and the Civil Rights Division, which you lead, will be looking into this incident to see if federal law was violated. What can you tell us?
Well, yeah, so the Attorney General has been on this from the moment it happened. I was actually in the air when she first reached out to me, and we immediately jumped on this. There are already 2 prosecutors from my office on their way to Minneapolis, and they'll be there this morning. We have an FBI team assembled and local prosecutors as well. This is going to get the highest attention from the Department of Justice because there is no more sacred right in our Constitution than the right to assemble and pray to God. And there are federal laws that protect that right. And what happened here was a shameful exercise of virtue signaling, disruption, fear, terror. You can see children in this video being ushered.
And that's why this was very hard to watch for me personally. I have watched thousands upon thousands of clips to give you guys the best information, the most detailed information I can. This one was actually one of the hardest ones for me to watch. I don't know about you guys. Again, more so what was happening here. That was tough for me. And make sure, again, to please like this stream. I really want people to see what's going on so we can dig into this together.
Out the back by their terrorized mothers. And this is illegal. And I want to add, before people start spazzing about the First Amendment, that the Biden administration prosecuted people peacefully praying outside abortion clinics for much, much less. Prosecuted them under conspiracy statutes, under the Klan Act, which I also have jurisdiction over at the DOJ. And so the people who did this made a big, big mistake, whoever they are. We are investigating exactly who they are.
Now, look, the names of these groups have actually listed themselves. You guys can go do your own research on that if you want to go look it up. Thank you, Miss T-Bone Streaming, for the $1 donation. If you guys want to go follow Miss T-Bone Streaming, subscribe to her. Thank you for that donation. Okay, so I figured you'd want to see how CNN is reporting this.
So what is the law the DOJ could use to prosecute these protesters?
Well, interestingly, it could also sort of fall under the civil rights category as well, that the rights of these individuals in the church to practice their religion are being impeded by these protesters. And so the Justice Department could potentially look at whether the activities these individuals are engaging in goes beyond what there would be their protected activities.
Now, it also should be noted that the pastor on video was asking them to leave. There are post interviews of asking the protesters to leave. I've heard the argument of like, well, you know, a church is technically like a public building and anyone can come in and leave as they please. So for protesters to go in, that shouldn't be a big deal. But on camera, they are requesting, please leave, please leave. So keep that in mind as far as the context. And again, even if you are okay with protesters being there, I'm just trying to give you guys all the sides of the story.
You know, this all comes in the environment, Pamela, of the court order that was issued by a federal judge in Minnesota last Friday, limiting activities that ICE agents could do with respect to protesters. Justice Department now, it sounds, is coming down with a different way that they want to engage in protection of civil rights, protection of First Amendment activities in particular.
And again, First Amendment activities give protesters the right to make their voices heard peacefully.
And again, I am not saying I agree with this. I'm just showing you this is the other talking point. You know, we have the First Amendment. You know, when it comes to church, you can like go in there. I'm just telling you guys, not a lot of people are talking about this on the higher political level as far as the governor, mayors. They're not talking about this, but more so a lower level like me and you. And when I say lower level, you know what I'm talking about. We're not the mainstream. We're the everyday people. This is like a common talking point I am hearing as far as support for what happened in that church.
Assembly, right? On public property, but it's different when you get into private property. Right?
It's different on private property. This is their First Amendment right to engage in their religion. The protesters, are allowed to engage in their activity. But yes, private places have an ability to not have that type of activity in their place. And the question that we're coming to is, how is law enforcement going to protect the rights of protesters to engage in their First Amendment protected activity, at the same time not be intimidating other people for whatever rights they are.
So you're hearing it right there. Her question was, how is the federal government going to protect the rights of protesters who entered that church, which is private property, and in the videos they are asking people to leave? They said it, not me. I'm just trying to show you guys this is what they're saying. This is what they're talking about. That's on national television right there. So just to give you all the sides here, because I am sure a lot of people are just confused. How is there even an argument for what we just watched? There's some of the argument. Okay, so again, like I mentioned before, almost immediately, once the video started circulating, Pam Bondi says she's on it. Harmeet Dillon said she was on it. I was on a call with Pam Bondi, who called Pastor Jonathan Parnell, who was the pastor in the videos you guys are seeing. This is from Caroline Leavitt. Now, it should be noted, we haven't heard anything from the president himself. I am curious what you guys think about that. Right now, the president seems to be really focusing on Greenland, NATO, focusing on other aspects, filibuster, funding. Another member of Congress talked about wanting to pass a bill that has to do with not switching our times back an hour. And so I haven't heard or seen anything from the president. This is as close as we're probably going to get as of right now. From Caroline Leavitt, President Trump will not tolerate the intimidation and harassment of Christians in their sacred places of worship. The Department of Justice has launched a full investigation into the despicable incident that took place earlier today at a church in Minnesota. So obviously the stance from the Trump administration is, we're not liking what we're seeing, so we're going to look into it. Thank you, Michael74, for the $5 donation. Thank you for all the great news you share with us. I don't think we would get this much in depth if it wasn't for your reporting. Well, I appreciate it. And I do think I do lean conservative bias, and obviously I am a Christian. I do think in this particular story, not enough people were educating, conservatives were educating what Christians actually believe biblically and historically throughout Christian history as far as deportations and what some of the things were being said in the church. For example, one of the protesters in the church was yelling, "Jesus overturned tables." By a show of hands, how many people have heard that? Jesus has overturned the tables. And again, even if you don't agree with the Bible, I think in this case, you should probably know what the belief is for Christians. You hear that a lot, right? But when you read the entirety of the verse, Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money chargers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers. Keep that in mind. That is the verse as far as the surrounding context of Jesus overturned tables. Here's what it looked like I'm not going to show all these scenes, but here are some clips.
Justice for Renee! Justice for Renee! Justice for Renee! Justice for Renee! Justice for Renee!
There's the pastor right there. Yeah. A lot of Trump's administration, like, literally saying, we're on it, activated. Harmeet Dillon said FAFO. I think you guys know what that means. And, yeah, a lot of the story right now circulates around Don Lemon. I mean, a lot of it. And we will get to what Don Lemon has to say. But Don Lemon is claiming here recently, I have nothing to do with this. I was just there investigating like a journalist should.
The Lord is safe in your house. The safe you want to get your house in order. That is correct. You're interviewing. Justice for
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
Renee Good! Renee Good! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
And by the way, it should be noted that Don Lemon's live stream is still up on YouTube right now. So if you guys want to watch that raw footage, I mean, I am showing you this same footage. So I'm just letting you know his footage is still on YouTube if you want to watch the entirety of the raw footage.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you?
So again, this is just evidence to show you guys they were asking them to leave. That is very crucial to this investigation. Very crucial to the investigation. Because again, this being on private property, the FBI, DOJ needs some sort of evidence that, hey, did you guys ask them to leave or were you welcoming protesters into your service? That is like the very first question you ask. Are they allowed to be here? No. Okay, that might seem like trespassing. It might. Let's go beyond that and see what else we might find.
Closed, but what do you do?
And I am letting you guys know right now, I apologize. This is very hard to watch. I agree with you. This was one of the hardest things I have ever watched reporting to you guys. But setting that aside, I do think this is a good education standpoint. For those of you who are Christian or not Christian, I think at baseline you guys should know some of the verses and the beliefs of what Christians have always believed.
What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities?
And also, this has now turned into protesters and politics going into a Christian church.
You have no comment. Exactly. Renee Good! Renee Good!
Freedom! We have a duty to win!
Well, while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No. Jesus would dine with immigrants. You do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Very crucial. You're hearing it from him. Touch me again, see what happens. Hey, you can't.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where?
Okay, now from the Christian perspective, again, for those of you who are not Christian, you might just want to know this. Why not? They are asking him to leave, right? First Corinthians 5. 11 through 12, but now I am writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but is sexually immoral or greedy, an adulterer or slanderer, a drunkard or swindler. Do not even eat with such people. What business is it of mine to judge those outside of the church? Are you not to judge those inside? God will judge those outside. Expel the wicked person from among you. Again, if you guys want that verse, just to have it in your back pocket, I advise you actually go read all of 1 Corinthians. Very administrative from St. Paul himself, who wrote 1 Corinthians, but that is 1 Corinthians 5, 11 through 12. So again, for those of you who don't know what the Christian belief or understanding would even be as far as how could you kick people out, I would actually say Christians have a higher standard amongst their own Christians, let alone somebody who enters a church who does not belong there, is yelling and screaming. And we don't even have to look at it from a Bible side of things. Even from the orthodoxy standpoint, this is Mount Atmos. If you want to become a monk at Mount Atmos, it's like a 3-year period to see whether or not you can actually be a monk, follow the rules, be Christ-like to join this monastery. So keep that in mind. Those verses are out there. I think a lot of people misconstrued what the actual Christian belief is. Crystal says, thank you for the $2 donation. That screaming guy is a paid agitator. That's what Crystal posted. Thank you for the comment. Now we'll get to some more Bible verses, but let us continue. Again, I apologize. I know this is difficult to watch, but this is the story. And this was publicly made available for everybody. And this is a good education for those who just don't know. And again, if you are new here, make sure to please subscribe, turn on your notification, leave your comments.
You're interfering with Renee good. Renee good. Renee good. Renee good.
You guys probably can't hear that in the background, but again, he's saying you guys can leave. On like every single camera angle I'm seeing, you can audibly hear or see, can you please leave? Can you please leave? And for the privacy of the families here, I don't want to overplay this because, again, I feel very bad for them. But the pastors and the Southern Baptist Church, I think the convention, they are saying they are going to be pressing charges. And they're looking into this and want the support from the Christian community and, of course, the federal government. AK Aviator, thank you for the $5. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. That's John 15:18. Thank you for the faithful reporting, brother. God bless you. And I appreciate it. God bless you. Again, I'm a little surprised, not a lot of conservatives were actually just using Bible verses to let people know this is what Christians believe. And again, I want to really reiterate this. Although this is a Christian church, understand this is also protected under our federal laws of it being a place of worship, if we want to call it that, right? So I'm not seeing other groups also standing up for this because this also overlaps into other religions where this could happen to you, and I hope it doesn't.
Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now. Living real comfortable while the people starve. Living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you? Shame on you. Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos. Quit ignoring this injustice.
Okay. So there you go. Now, I did see one comment that is a good segue. As far as the accusation of, does a pastor there work for ICE? Yeah, that has been verified. That is true. According to reports, this is 100% true. Now, the question is, does that constitute you wanting to go into the church and conduct this protest? Now, however you want to feel about it, this is a part of the story. I'm just here to give you guys all sides. So as far as an accusation that a pastor at this church works for ICE, that part is true, but the pastor who was standing on stage does not work for ICE. So you guys can do whatever you want with that information. We have another Bible verse, Super Romer, 1 Corinthians 15:33, which states, "Be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners, emphasizing that bad friends can ruin good character." Thank you for that. I appreciate the support. And I know some of you are saying irrelevant. Exactly. I mean, you guys are entitled to your opinions, but that was the very first question I wanted to ask. The reason why they were there was because of this. Now, does that make it a legal reason or a good reason? You guys can let me know how you feel about that. Now, again, the big story is Don Lemon. Don Lemon has really become one of the focal points of this story. And again, we will get to a reaction from Don Lemon as far as him saying, I have nothing to do with this in the sense of like being a part of it. I was just covering it.
Pastor of the church. Our church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted by this group of protesters. Yeah. We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left. Yeah. So, what do you think of it?
Again, you're hearing it right here. We have told them to leave, and obviously they have not left. In my personal opinion, I don't know how many other angles I can show you. They were asked to leave. And at baseline, again, if there was ever a possibility of a charge or any wrongdoing, when you enter someone's home, and whether or not you want to agree this is a home, this is a private residence, and if somebody says, can you please leave, and you don't, I think you guys know what could happen from there. Thank you, Founding Stock. It gets into what you do with refugees and mixed marriages. Yeah, we're gonna get into some more passages here in a second. As far as at baseline, another taken out of context quote.
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah.
So you heard that. Does the Constitution not have the freedom of speech to assemble and to protest? Again, you're probably going to be hearing this a lot as far as what the counter argument will be for this being okay. And again, I know a lot of us will get sucked into our own biases and our own algorithms. That happens to me all the time. I think you would be shocked to find out once you venture out of your algorithm how many people are okay with what you are seeing. You might be very shocked to find out. Just go ahead and go onto some other platforms, look this up, go look into other creators you don't normally watch, look in the comment section. I'm letting you know right now, it's probably going to shock a lot of you. Thank you for the $5, American Cactus. If the people in that church weren't with the protesters before, they sure as heck aren't now. Goal was to get people on their side. Opposite achieved. I'm still waiting to see what the governor has to say. I'm still waiting to see what the mayor has to say. Nothing.
We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me though.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yeah. Okay. That's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
unless
chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to
Okay, so you're hearing that, all right?
Worship.
Yeah. Now, Don Lemon did pose the question, would Jesus be okay with this? Man, I am getting so many notifications right now of Don Lemon content. I mean, again, he is really starting to become the focus of this story. Don Lemon does pose a good question. Okay, so again, circling back to Christian context. Leviticus 19, This verse probably gets used the most. If there was one verse, and just so you guys are aware, to be totally transparent, as somebody who covers immigration issues, sanctuary cities, I am a Christian, to be totally transparent with you. So I am always very careful to represent Christian values and morals into a lot of my content. In saying that, that also means listening to all sides and being fair. This verse has to probably by far be the most used. I think a lot of you might know this. When a foreigner resides among you in your lands, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you, you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you are foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Amazing. I think every Christian would agree with that. That has always been the Christian belief. Now, the next verse, not here, but Numbers 15, I think a lot of people leave this part out. And again, even if you're not a Christian, don't care about this, I do think you should be just a little educated in what Christians actually believe and why they believe it. But anyone who sins defiantly, whether native born or foreigner, we just heard in that first verse, accept the foreigner as your own. But if anyone who sins defiantly, whether native born or foreigner, blasphemes the Lord and must be cut off from the people of Israel because they are despised. They have despised the Lord's word and broken his commands. They must surely be cut off. Their guilt remains on them. Now, it's weird because that sounds oddly familiar to what Paul said. Again, circling back, 1 Corinthians 5. But now I am writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but is sexually immoral or greedy, an adulterer or slanderer, a drunkard or swindler. Do not even eat with such people. What business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside? God will judge those outside. Expel the wicked person from among you. So again, as far as Christian quote-unquote ideologies or beliefs, it's always been, we accept you, we love you, but we do have standards biblically. And even if you're not a Protestant and you don't only follow the Bible, even from the Catholic position, Catechism 2241, has always said, welcome the foreigner. We welcome you. But then when you read into the main catechism, which is like at baseline, how countries, according to Catholics, should be welcoming, there are standards. Political authorities, for the sake of the common good for which they are responsible, may make the exercise of the right to immigrate subject to various judicial conditions, especially with regard to immigrants' duties towards their country of adoption. So again, for those of you who are not Christians, don't care about any of this, the Christian position has always been, historically speaking, biblically speaking, whether in the year 71, I mean, you know what I mean, or the year 2026, there has always been an understanding of loving, accepting, understanding, hearing what people have to say. But internally, Christ has given the duty of the Christian to judge righteously, but also to kick them out if need be. Even from the Catholic position, the number one denomination in Christianity has always even had this standard. And we already talked about orthodoxy. If you want to become a monk in orthodoxy at Mount Atmos or other monasteries, you have to follow certain standards. And even internally for Christians, they have to uphold the standard of respecting the traditions and the laws and the rules. So keep that in mind. I hope you guys were able to screenshot that. Now, here's what Megan Bashem has to say. For those of you who are unaware, this was a Southern Baptist church. And I was trying to figure out, is there a reason why, this was a Southern Baptist church? The main reason I am seeing is because of the pastor working for ICE. That was like the main reason. Now, here's what Megan Bashem has to say, or Basham. I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. This is her account. I'm a Southern Baptist, and by the way, I am not a Southern Baptist, but I used to be Baptist. I am a Southern Baptist, so I have to say that part of the reason these criminal agitators are harassing Southern Baptist churches today is because Southern Baptist leadership aided and abetted the false narratives about ICE, releasing a statement just this past April claiming concern about ICE under the Trump administration entering churches without permission. And now we have left-wing agitators disrupting our services. Again, I'm just letting you guys know this is what she is posting. This is her opinion. Just trying to find some other aspects as to why maybe a Southern Baptist church was protested. In the statement from just this past April, the ERLC and other SBC leaders promoted the false claim that churches needed to fear ICE agents doing their jobs enforcing the law. Many of our leaders have promoted amnesty policies and contributed to law breaking and threats we saw at City's Church today. It should be a lesson to them. Stop putting out statements that further false narratives and start speaking out about the lawbreakers. So again, whether or not this is true, that's her opinion. Just trying to get some other aspects of the story as to why maybe a Southern Baptist church was the target of a protest, other than the fact that the accusation, the pastor is an ice field director. Okay, so here's what Don Lemon has to say. Again, Don Lemon is claiming he is a Christian. We heard that in the interview. And Don Lemon is also claiming, look, I'm a journalist. It's my job to find these things out. So let's hear and see what Don Lemon has to say to be fair to the story.
And the fake news magas are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this a assistant attorney general, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? Something Hammett.
Or me.
Gillen or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization.
And again, if you guys want to go and fact check Don Lemon, you guys can actually go to the live stream that is currently up on YouTube. I think it's like a 5-hour live stream. And when I watched some of the raw footage, Don Lemon was standing outside of the church. At that time, and by the way, this is not me like standing up for Don Lemon, just setting up the context. Don Lemon was standing outside of the church. That is true. The protesters were inside the church. And then as far as sequence of events, it is true. Then Don Lemon followed in. But again, as far as that being legal or not legal, that is what's being investigated.
That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protests at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea.
Okay, so that is the position from Don Lemon. Again, he is saying he really has nothing to do with this. This was an act of journalism. Whether or not you believe it, again, I'm just trying to show you that's his side of the story. You guys can watch the footage. Now, this video is circulating, and I actually covered this in depth, and you guys might remember this. I do want to point out, here is the mayor-elect of St. Paul, who has still not made a comment on what happened in her city at the church. Here is the former mayor of St. Paul, and this was a speech from the governor, Tim Walz, on the week of Christmas.
So I would fully expect, and we are preparing for, an influx of more agents, more of the very visible public theatrics of the raids, of the harassments, and you got faith leaders here. I would not put it past this administration to target midnight mass services amongst folks going to worship, because that's who they are. So I would fully...
And for people who don't know, midnight mass services for the Catholic Church, you can go to... It's a midnight mass church service. So the governor here is talking about, we're getting the implication he respects the faith leaders. He's here with the faith leaders during this press conference. It should be noted that the Archbishop of St. Paul in Minneapolis actually called this out and said, to my knowledge, and if you guys don't know, the Archbishop oversees the Catholic churches in St. Paul and Minneapolis, but also was speaking on behalf of other churches and schools. The Archbishop said, to my knowledge, none of my churches have ever been raided by ICE. We've never had any problems. In fact, in communication with Homeland Security, this was never a fear or problem. And the reason why the Archbishop said that is because he doesn't want people to be afraid to come to church. So... you're hearing that straight from the governor, and I do expect and I hope we do have a statement from the governor, considering a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, he was standing in front of faith leaders, as he says, talking about this idea of ICE going into churches or being in fear of being at church. And again, guys, we go into all the detail here. I do my best to overlap the stories, cross-reference, so if you're new here, make sure to please subscribe. We already covered this weeks ago in detail, and I don't want you guys to miss a thing. I really do my best to give you the best information. So that is pretty much like what we have so far as this story, and we're still going, guys. The show's not over at all. I gave you guys biblical passages. I gave you guys responses from Harmeet Dillon. Again, this story is less than 24 hours old, by the way. It's also Martin Luther King Day, so don't expect a lot more responses from the government. Tomorrow, we'll probably be seeing a lot more responses. One thing I do want to say again, the President of the United States himself has not made a comment on this. The only thing close to that was Caroline Leavitt. So we're still waiting on a lot more responses. We haven't heard anything from like a Stephen Miller, nothing. Now, as far as federal operations are concerned, the operations continue, people. Outside of this church story, Chief Bovino is indicating we're not stopping.
Anti-ICE agitators are protesting again in Minneapolis as the DOJ investigates Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey for allegedly impeding ICE operations.
If you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans.
I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
And now Fox News has told DHS agents with rooms booked at the St. Paul downtown Doubletree Hotel have received notice that it will close due to threats the staff was receiving for lodging immigration agents. Oh.
Yeah, so this has now officially been confirmed at a hotel in St. Paul. It looks like reservations are being canceled. Sorry. Not only for agents, but for also people who are just trying to work in the city.
A loving and tolerant left at it again. Joining us now from Minneapolis is Border Patrol Commander, the great Gregory Bovino. Greg, thank you so much for being with us. I'm sorry of everything that you've had to go through, and I'm deeply sorry that you have to deal with all this. But we've learned that one of your staff members was just evicted from that Doubletree Hotel. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, Tommy and everyone, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me. I received word last night from Border Patrol agents, and it's more than one staff member. It's Border Patrol and ICE, well over a dozen. They received word at that Doubletree, as well as the Intercontinental Motel, which is close by, that they needed to be out by noon today.
And also keep in mind, as far as this happening, it's also becoming a security threat, because there's already been a security breach at one of the hotels as far as leaking the names of some of the agents. And again, I'm not trying to make this such a one-sided show. I just sometimes like to see what Chief Bovino has to say, because he is in a unique role of leadership and on the front lines.
And the messaging given to our agents was very inconsistent, no reason given, just that you needed to be out. So I had some quick-thinking staff, Tommy, and we made a call to the Doubletree, and they were still accepting reservations last night after they gave that letter to the Border Patrol and ICE agents that they needed to depart. So a lot of inconsistencies and questions there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reporting is indicating that some of this could be like on the individual level, not like the actual stance of the hotel chain, but more so like a manager or somebody at a front desk. I'm seeing some of those reports infiltrate into this story that like an individual rogue employee might be the one who's actually doing this. Again, that is just a theory. But as you guys know, like the Hilton, remember that story like a week ago? The Hilton Hotel's like, hold on, we allow everybody to come in here, you know, as far as government agencies.
Just want to follow up real quick on that, Greg, because we saw what our own Bill Malugin posted about these evictions and saying that their staff feared for their lives. They were being threatened if, they were accommodating ICE agents. Have you found that to be true? And I'm sure it's happening. I'm sure they're being harassed. We've seen, many folks being harassed. But have you heard about the hotel staff specifically being targeted?
I've not heard any indication of the hotel staff being targeted, but as you know, these anarchists are starting to go out into the streets, and they are threatening American citizens. We're seeing that daily. And one other thing that we're seeing in relation to the hotels is sometimes they'll go after our tires, our vehicles, but also they go after the vehicles of anyone they think that is even associated with ICE. And sometimes American citizens wake up to find their vehicle tires slashed, damaged, and or vandalized.
I've been covering ICE operations, federal operations, for a very long time. Now more than ever, I am seeing civilians who have absolutely nothing to do with anything. They're like being targeted in a lot of these videos. I'm seeing a lot more of it. I don't know if you guys are also seeing the same thing. And I am very curious how people would feel about that who even don't support ICE or Homeland Security. Now, let's try to get another perspective here. Again, if you're new here, we kind of go back and forth between perspectives, talking about the same story as far as the context of Minnesota and other federal operations.
What they're doing right now is actually suppressing U.S. citizens, racially profiling in all parts of our country, bringing violence to areas that you don't need. You have men with very little training shooting U.S. citizens. This is not at all what we need. I'm certainly not going to fund something of that nature if it's only going to cause more and more problems and more harm and less security for Americans and everyday people that are just trying to live their lives.
Okay, this is another argument, if you guys are unaware, you will often hear as far as not only sanctuary jurisdictions, but not wanting to cooperate with ICE in the way that people would think you would cooperate with ICE. You guys just heard that lack of security for the nation. A lot of times you hear the argument of the reason why I don't want my police to work with ICE is because I'm taking away police forces to go cooperate and work with ICE. For example, the mayor of Minneapolis says this all the time. We only have 600 police officers and ICE has like 4,000 agents. How are they supposed to be cooperating with those agents? And then now I have a lack of police force. So if you guys will probably be hearing this a lot more considering we're getting closer to this deadline of wanting to reform or fund Homeland Security. That's on January 30th. So you're going to be hearing that a lot.
Even if that means shutting down the government, and are there enough Democrats that agree with that, that the government actually will be shut down?
I can't speak for everybody else, but if I have to shut down the portion of ICE, just to be clear, we're not shutting down the rest of the government, the portion of ICE that is causing this kind of harm, racially profiling people, terrorizing our cities. I know the implications of that. I know the political implications potentially of that. But we cannot keep funding this, this type of goon squads that are just spreading throughout the whole country just to enforce some weird policy position that Stephen Miller has, where he thinks that we have to punish blue cities.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I do not have the expertise and knowledge to know how that's possible. How, when you specifically only, quote unquote, defund ICE, I don't know how that's going to work. I'm just going to be as transparent as possible. I will do the research. But, ICE is a component of Homeland Security. And you're noticing he was very careful to say, I only want to defund the ICE part. Now, Stephen Miller has mentioned the reason why you're hearing the isolation of the ICE part. Stephen Miller said this like a couple days ago, is because when you defund ICE, you're actually defunding Homeland Security. And if you guys are unaware, I say this a lot, I know, politically speaking, Americans like security. So when you defund Homeland Security, that could obviously have a lot of political implications, and you actually just heard it here from him as well. Ruben Gallego, senator from Arizona. I don't know how that's going to work, but again, you're going to be hearing a lot more of it as far as possibly abolishing, reforming, or some Democrats actually do support ICE, like Senator John Fetterman. Let's get to this real quick. I know you guys are going to want to hear what Jasmine Crockett has to say real quick. Again, this notion of possibly shutting down the government.
So while we are facing a government shutdown that most likely is going to occur,
and I'm pretty sure she's running for senator, right? Can you guys correct me on that? She's running for senator in Texas. Am I right on that?
So while we are facing a government shutdown that most likely is going to occur, I am still showing up. If I don't have to be in D.C., I am right here on the ground talking to the people, meeting them where they are, and I am doing it in a very, very aggressive way. So I'm with y'all this morning, but I did 4 clubs last night.
Okay, so she dropped out. All right, I did not know that. Did she? Okay. Again, I apologize. It's a one-man band over here. I memorize all this stuff, so if you ever hear me stumble on my words sometimes, that's why. I don't read a teleprompter. I suck at reading. I do my best. So thank you for educating me on that. I appreciate it. Yeah, we saw this. Okay, the other really big story, out of nowhere, so yesterday, we had the church protest. Then Cam Higbee got this on camera. Let me know if you guys saw this. And the only reason why I'm showing you guys this is because the FBI is also getting involved. Get ready for this.
Hey, get. What did she just do? She fucking.
According to Cam Higbee and Nick Sorter, his camera was stolen.
Oh, shit. Okay, it's okay.
She took next camera. She just stole next camera. Let's get her.
No, give him the camera! You're gonna give him the camera!
Just tell her to give him the camera back.
Now, some people are saying don't give him the camera. Cam Higbee is saying give him the camera.
Give him the camera!
What happened, Nick?
They just stole my camera.
Right out of your hand while you're in the car?
That's what the fuck you wanted, right? That's the fuck you wanted, right? That's what you did. Man, listen, motherfucker, you better get the fuck up out of here.
My daughter.
You fucking coward. Why the fuck are you a coward, bitch?
You have to leave.
You a fucking coward. Get out of here, motherfucker. Get the fuck up out of here. Bitch. You fucking coward. You a fucking coward, motherfucker. Nobody motherfucker, you trying to incite that shit. Nobody stepped in. Get the fuck up out of here, bro.
This neighborhood. Why are you here?
I don't know if you guys saw this at all. Again, the only reason why I'm showing you this is because the FBI actually commented on it.
We were driving through and we got followed. You guys followed us.
No, we're following you, but who are you?
It doesn't matter. We're allowed to be here. It's the United States of America. Why do we have to leave?
What?
We're not leaving till we get the camera. You want us to leave? Give us the camera. Call your friend. Get the camera back. And we'll leave.
Okay, so that is the raw footage from Cam Higbee. If you guys want updates on that story, just to give credit to Mr. Cam Higbee, that's his page right there. And he has a YouTube as well. If you guys want to subscribe to him, that's the page. We have a interaction inside of the vehicle. And by the way, just to show the proof, FBI Rapid Response did comment on this. So I just want to show you guys... we will get to that in a second. Again, this is Cam.
You're recording everybody in this neighborhood.
Well, because we're being followed.
We don't have to.
What do you mean? There's a convoy of 4 cars behind us and we've got 6 people surrounding us.
Driving
Huh? No, we don't want to leave. We're being followed and intimidated. I don't want to leave when that's happening. Why do we have to get out of here?
It's in your place.
Why is it not our place? This is America.
Hey! Get!
What did she just do?
Okay, so from there, then, that's when Nick Sorter's camera got taken from him. Now, this is from Cam Higbee as well. Apparently, obviously, you would call the police, right? As far as that's typically what you do if you feel like a crime has been committed against you. This is what Cam Higbee had to say. The Minneapolis Police Department told Nick Sorter and I to leave the area after we were attacked, followed, threatened, robbed, and Nick was nearly taken out, killed. They also indicated that there was a low probability the camera would be recovered despite providing a full plate with a match. Yeah. Let's see this interaction real quick.
Car, but you guys got to do us a favor and stay out of this area.
If you didn't hear that, he said, you guys have to do us a favor and get out of this area.
But you guys got to do us a favor and stay out of this area. All right? We don't want anything else escalating to this point again. We got a lot of reports.
Well, we just don't. I mean, I guess what
it's
I don't understand
felony
is
versus them just not liking our. I understand that.
We get attacked and assaulted. By the way, they tried to steal my camera earlier, and we're the ones told to leave.
I'm not justifying what they did, but we're trying to keep the peace at the end of the day.
Not justifying what they did, but we are trying to keep the peace. If anybody has been subscribed to me for the Portland story, that really does have some overlap as far as narrative. There are actual Portland police officers whose job it is to try and quote-unquote keep the peace and have peaceful dialogue. And so it's reminding me a lot of that.
And bottom line is, you guys obviously aren't from the area.
But it's like if I'm a woman and I get raped for wearing tight jeans, and it's like, well, you shouldn't have been there. It's
but that's not what we're saying.
Well, we're being told to leave when we're...
Okay, so again, you guys can leave your opinions how you feel about that. I mean, I don't know why I said it like that. I mean, the cops are saying, look, we want to keep the peace, but also can you please leave? All right, FBI Rapid Response immediately says, we are on it. Now, for those of you that are unaware, Nick Sorter has indicated a couple of days ago that a lot more federal agents will be coming to Minneapolis and also St. Paul. I think you guys are aware there was that incident of Nick Sorter where his Jeep was surrounded and windows got bashed and smashed. And so because of that, Nick Sorter indicated he was on the phone with Pam Bondi, DOJ officials, and the FBI.
And visa.
Okay, so this is Peggy Flanagan, mom organizer, lieutenant governor of Minnesota. Let's see what she has to say. Hopefully the audio is good.
Hey, Minnesota, Peggy Flanagan here. Just left a event in Albert Lee, a packed room, and was so grateful for the folks who came out, but particularly grateful for the group of 8 young people who are high school students here who organized a walkout, have been speaking up and pushing back in this moment. And these young people are so clear that they need adults to follow their lead in looking out for our immigrant neighbors, and making sure that their classmates are seen and supported. And heard a story.
Okay, so that's one of her statements. I thought you'd want to hear that. That is directly from her. If you guys want to go see what she has to say, to give her credit, I guess. Representative Pramila Jayapal. Again, you guys are going to be hearing this a lot more. I just want to give you that warning. You're going to be hearing a lot more of pushback against Homeland Security, considering the funding vote is coming up here soon.
When we have the gavels back, we have to take this on, because this has been an ongoing escalation of funding to ICE, to Border Patrol, without any accountability. Detention soaring, incarceration of immigrants in the United States of America now at 56,000 people a night being incarcerated. The entire spending for the Bureau of Prisons is dwarfed by the amount of spending that we are putting into incarcerating immigrants in a system that is a civil system. Now, I get mocked all the time by Republicans when I try to say this. Immigration is a civil system, not a criminal system.
Okay, you guys can let me know how you feel about this. Now, it looks like this talking point is coming back. You may have noticed, I think you guys probably remember this. At the beginning of the Trump administration, you probably saw this all the time on social media. You heard it in the news. When you come into the country illegally, it is a civil crime. By a show of hands, how many of you used to hear that all the time? And when I say show of hands, I hope some of you are not in your living rooms actually going like that. I can't see you. And then we sort of had this silent period. We did not hear this at all. That's because, statistically speaking, again, Americans understand that could be constituted, if you want to call it a civil crime, it's still a crime, right? And Americans don't like crime or don't like when people break the rules, generally speaking. Now it's starting to come back. That talking point looks like it is starting to come back, but at one point we almost didn't hear it, right?
That is why people are not given attorneys. They're not given the right to counsel, because it is a civil system. The detention system is not punitive. It is not supposed to be punitive, excuse me. It is being used punitively.
Okay, so again, guys, get ready for a lot of these talking points to resurface, and you might hear some new talking points. I made a video yesterday of a state delegate who proposed a law in which if you became an ICE officer under the Trump administration term right now, you cannot become a police officer in Maryland. You guys can go watch that video after this if you want. We're seeing a lot of different policies and reform being pushed out there, to say the least.
For schools and education, not for war and deportation. Because we need to build this movement further. That's right. Yeah. What this shows is it's got to go beyond Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's got to go national. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so that's January 23rd. What's today? January 19th. Make sure you guys please subscribe because I do want to see what happens here. Apparently on January 23rd, there is this movement that like no one's going to go to work or go to school. Again, trying to give you guys all the different perspectives and talking points here. That will be on January 23rd, apparently. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if that happens on a mass scale.
Refer to one of the greatest strikes that happened in U.S. history, the slave revolt during the Civil War. 7 million refused to work and stand up against the system, an unjust system that was repressing, ruining lives. This system is destroying families, destroying schools. We need to fight back and build a movement. I also want to refer to a quote from Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights Movement. One has not only a legal but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws.
Okay, so leave your comments down below how you feel about that. I am very interested in your comments. But again, we will be paying attention to January 23rd. Mark that on your calendars. What we're also seeing in Minneapolis, again, this increase, I don't have the exact numbers for you. The last number I heard out there is that there are a lot of classes as far as how to be a quote-unquote legal observer, or as many people will call it, constitutional observer. There are a lot of classes right now and a lot of participants who are wanting to join this movement in Minneapolis and St. Paul.
We are currently doing a ride-along in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood as part of an organized effort led by the Cedar Riverside Protective Alliance and our allies and partners. Today is Saturday, January 17th. We have been doing patrol for about a month and a half. However, today we have extra patrols out because there has been confirmation of a far-right anti-Muslim protest happening. So we have more people in community today to protect the neighbors. And at the heart of what this is really us ensuring that people don't have their daily life disrupted and that they feel safe within their own neighborhoods. So that's currently what we're doing.
And I've said this a lot when it comes to sanctuary cities. The more federal agents you see, or the more pushback, the more federal agents you see, you typically see a correlation of more quote-unquote legal observers, constitutional observers, or stuff like you're seeing right here. So keep that in mind. The more you see federal agents coming in, the more you can probably expect some pushback. Chief Bovino made that very clear with Operation Midway Blitz over the summer. We talked about the church already. This was posted by Scott Jennings. I was really curious what this was all about. Let me know what you guys think about Mr. Scott Jennings.
This rhetoric coming out of the Republican Party. These are the same people that defended opening fire hoses on protesters in the 60s on the Selma Bridge. I mean, these are people who consistently
I think those were Democrats, Julie. Just FYI. Those are Democrats.
Scott,
those were Democrats
actually,
in the 60s.
Scott, people like you
that was your party.
Exactly that kind of behavior.
But thank you for reminding everybody that
Scott,
Democrats were against civil rights.
How about this, Scott? Why don't you let me finish and stop interrupting? Because clearly, whenever anybody tries
You're
to
the one that brought up
Democrats.
I agree with you. Democrats shouldn't have been against civil rights.
You're the person. Well, there you go. How about this, Scott? Why don't you continue talking and I'll just sit here
All
and
right,
listen to
you know
Go
what,
ahead.
guys? I think we all have each other's X handles where we can continue this conversation.
Okay, so you guys can leave your comments. I figured why not throw that Scott clip in there. Now, I still do not have a comment from the mayor of St. Paul. The mayor of St. Paul has still not made any comment at all. I looked into it, did some research. Nothing as far as what occurred in the church yesterday. And just so you guys know, this is the benefit of being live. I just got an update. Breaking, ICE agents arrest 2 women in Minneapolis for allegedly impeding federal operations. Yeah. Told you guys there is a direct correlation. More federal agents, more pushback. I've been covering the mayor of St. Paul for quite a while now, and she has never shied away from this idea of group organization or pushback against Homeland Security as far as this idea of legal observers. But I am a little shocked we have not heard a single statement. That to me is very shocking, considering the footage was very shocking, and I think some Christians want answers.
Police in connecting them and working with our advocates who are on the ground, because we have to do this better. We can't let the federal government divide us and tear us apart. And the only way to do that is to ensure that our advocates feel empowered in the work that they are doing, and that our PD is there to support them in order to do that. And we've had really great conversations. We are making sure that our advocates and our Immigrant Defense Network are getting firsthand information from our police department when we're getting that, so that they know how to prepare and how to mobilize boots on the ground. They should not have brought this fight to our backyards, but it is here, and it is critical that we all stay together, work together, and push back on this federal government. I need all of you pushing on the outside, exercising your constitutional rights, exercising your First Amendment right, while I'm working with our partners and pushing from the inside.
Again, I'm not like a drama channel. I'm not like, I'm gonna start some beef. I do think conservative media, and this is my personal opinion, has been doing a very bad job in covering what's happening in St. Paul, or educating you guys that St. Paul is a city right next to Minneapolis who has the same exact rules and standards, basically, and has a mayor who says stuff like this and pretty much agrees with the mayor of Minneapolis. I don't know why. I think it could be because of algorithm issues or how news stories are developed. I do not know why St. Paul has slid under the radar as much as it has. As far as people, being upset with Minneapolis and Minnesota, the city right next door, this is being said and done as well. So just want to let you guys know, on my channel, we talk about St. Paul just as much as Minneapolis. And whether or not you agree with what the mayor has to say, I think for people who even agree with the mayor and don't like ICE, you might even say the same thing. Yeah, we don't actually hear a lot about this mayor, because you don't. Now, let me refresh this page for you. This is Governor Tim Walz's social media. Let's see if he said anything. Okay, so this is what Governor Tim Walz recently said. In the face of hatred, Dr. King inspired us to build a society filled with hope, kindness, and love for our neighbor. Together, we must continue to work to enact his vision of equal opportunity for all. That is what the governor has said. When you scroll down through the governor's page, he typically makes a lot of announcements on here, or statements, like you see right here. This is a big statement. Another big statement here to Mr. Trump here, President Trump, where he was saying, hey, can we cool down the rhetoric? I am still not seeing anything as far as what happened in the church. Nothing. Now, right now, as far as the Don Lemon side of the story, what happened in that church, I know a lot of people are talking about Don Lemon, trying to figure out what's going on with Don Lemon. Here is one of the first initial statements from a church as far as possibly prosecuting or wanting charges against Don Lemon.
Today in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
This is Paul Chappell. He actually says, we condemn the actions of Don Lemon and the group of activists who stormed City Church today in St. Paul, Minnesota. In clear violation of the FACE Act, Christians everywhere should demand that the Department of Justice arrest those who participated. We must protect religious liberties in this country. And again, for those of you just joining, just so you guys know, we already gave Don Lemon's perspective and what his defense was, to be fair to the story. Red, just real quick, somebody said, can you do anything about the ads? Every time YouTube puts one up, it mutes you. I cannot. That is one thing I cannot control. I apologize. I think I have the frequency as low as possible as far as the live stream is concerned, but I do apologize for that. I sincerely do.
In Minneapolis, Minnesota, a group of activists led by Don Lemon stormed a Baptist church by the name of City's Church.
Now, he's saying led by Don Lemon. That is the accusation.
During their worship time, they were screaming and chanting, disrupting the singing and the preaching, because they suspected an ICE officer may attend the church. This is a violation of what is known as the FACE Act, and not only do we condemn this act, but tonight I want to demand that the Department of Justice investigate what took place in Minneapolis, apprehend those who broke the law, and arrest them accordingly. We must protect religious liberty in this country. As people meet to worship God, they have been given legally the right to enter, to worship, and to leave their place of worship. The Lord Jesus said, "In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world."
Okay, so again, just trying to give you guys one of the immediate responses was calling out Don Lemon specifically and the protesters. And for a lot of people saying, who cares about Don Lemon? I mean, Don Lemon has become a very big focal point in this entire story. Considering, do I have it here for you guys? Harmeet Dillon herself was actually questioning the actions of Don Lemon. I have it somewhere. I have like a million different tabs. Yeah, right here. Harmeet Dillon, infuriating conduct. Imagine if this happened at your house of worship, demonic and godless behavior, and also appears to be illegal. Okay, so those are all of the relevant updates I have for you guys. Again, make sure to please subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications because it is heating up right now. Even though it's cold in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I'm getting reports that there's action on the ground. We have to wait and see what this investigation is going to be all about. And I appreciate you guys listening, even if you hate ICE, hate Christians, hate anything. I hope you were able to understand the talking points or see the other side of the story as we went through the biblical passages and supporting evidence for what Christians have always believed, biblically and historically speaking. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here. I really do. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with this investigation. I think the pressure is on right now more than ever as far as how people feel about Pam Bondi and the FBI, whether or not they're really going to go through with any of these possible charges. We'll see what happens. But, okay. Thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you for being here, and please pray for peace, as I always say. Truthfully, pray for peace. Thank you guys. God bless. And we will see you all later. Thank you guys so much for everything. I love all you guys and I respect you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you guys.